The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 36 of the Daily Mother Swole. Thank you for joining me on this weekend, on this Saturday. That's still raining down here in Florida. Holy crap. Man, I want the sun to come out in the sunshine state for once, please. Anyhow, today we are talking about leg training. I want to get into leg training. I want to get into some of the basics, some of the ideas, some of the concepts behind training legs, which is massively, massively important. Whether you want to get bigger and build mass, whether you want to lose weight and maintain muscle size and shred up, legs are essential. Your body needs to build the largest muscle groups in its body. If you have leg development, if you train your legs, your metabolism will go through the roof. Your testosterone production goes up. Your body shreds fat everywhere. You need to work your legs. As the pyramids have a wider base at the bottom, you need to have a nice solid base on your body. It's aesthetically pleasing visually. It is physically pleasing to your body to have a nice strong foundation. It's healthy, it's strong, and guess what? We don't walk on our hands. So if you don't train your legs, welcome to your older age lifestyle when you're in a wheelchair or a walker. You need to work your legs, train your legs, get that overload now, and have that healthy lifestyle longevity throughout the rest of your life. So let's get into the basics of leg training. I am a huge fan of the basics. Not a lot of machine work, not a lot of fancy stuff. Those things generally cause more harm than good and just maybe hit muscles in specific ways that the machine wants you to do. Now, we have a lot of compensations. Most people have a lot of compensations, a lot of injuries, a lot of issues from sitting down a lot, from having maybe injuries in high school or college sports, or just sitting at their desk for 8 hours a day for the last 10, 15, 20 years. So the knees can be very sensitive. The hips can be very sensitive. There's a lot of tension in the lower back that's built up from compensations. So machines that are kind of have a one-track mind, no pun intended, that only move in certain directions can be a negative, can be detrimental to someone who's trying to get in shape because they might move specifically in a way that's not ideal for their body. So some free range movement, some free body weight exercises, body weight meaning free weight exercise where the body can move freely in space, open chain exercise where the body is not locked in, whether it's the lower body or the upper body not locked in place, can be more beneficial. So I'm a big fan of the basics. Squat, lunges, and Romanian deadlifts are some fantastic free body space exercises, free moving exercises, free weight exercise, whatever you want to call them. And they can be adjusted and modified for any skill level. Range of motion can be modified for people with compensations, not to mention the functionality is undeniable of the ability to squat down and pick something up that is useful until the day that you die. So squats, lunges, and RDLs, not all the time would lunges be appropriate, depending on knee integrity, depending on flexibility, depending on strength. But they can also be done in an assisted fashion. You can hold on to a railing. You can hold on to something because in all reality, if you have to bend down and pick something up or get on the ground and you're trying to grab something from under the bed, you're trying to pick something up from under the table, you're not going to get up in a complete, perfect, ass to grass, two-legged squat. You're probably going to bring 1 foot forward. You're going to get up in a kneeling position. And how are you going to do that if you can't do a lunge, if you're not strong enough, if you don't have the muscular integrity and the structural capacity for that? So a lunge is super important, even if you're not trying to get massive, even if you're not trying to overload the body like crazy. It's these basic movements that you should be able to do with your own body weight at minimum, because this is quality of life. If you can't get up off the ground, how are you going to function? You can't live by yourself if you can't get up off the ground. So these are concerns if just for functionality reasons as you get older, but these are also just reality in terms of a proper physique, the activation of the glutes, the hamstrings, the quads, and just the overall proprioceptive capacity and the neuromuscular coordination from the lower body and the upper body combined. Some of those closed chain exercises, like the leg extension, Gains 13 on Periscope. Tommy was mentioning about how our leg extension is bad for the body. They can be. A lot of machines nowadays are a little bit more versatile. They move a little bit more free. They have better angles than some of the older school machines. But if you think about it, the body isn't so straight, cut and dry. A lot of those leg extension machines, the pad goes straight across and everything is so straight and rigid, whereas the bones are curved and everyone's kind of joint angles move a little bit differently. Not to mention when the knee is extending, when that tibia is coming to full extension, it actually locks. It's called the screw home mechanism. In the last few degrees of motion, the tibia actually externally rotates and locks in place. And what happens is you're getting this actual closing. You're getting this actual rotation in the knee joint to create that nice stable locking. That's why when you lock your knees out, it's a very stable base. It's a very stable, solid position because the knee joint actually locks. This is one of the reasons why it's not good to completely lock your knees during leg training, but also you're getting that rotation in the actual joint, but the pad doesn't move when you're doing a leg extension machine. So you're kind of creating some ulterior forces while your knee is trying to lock. So you got to be careful either going to full extension locking or even doing these machines, period. Not to mention a lot of times if you don't set it up properly or you overdo it or the machine doesn't actually fit your body properly, you can get a lot of tension in your patellar tendon. And the patellar tendon is, it can get irritated pretty quickly, especially if you have hip compensations, if you're sitting down a lot, or if you have any previous injuries or particulate in your knee joint, your synovial joint. So these can be things that you don't feel the first time you do it. These could be things that you feel over time, and that's also a problem. These long-term injuries, you can't put your finger on what happened, so you don't know how to adjust and fix it, and then you end up just dealing with the pain. And as you know how that goes, it sometimes never goes away because you don't know how to fix it. You don't know where it came from, and then you're stuck with this pain the rest of your life, potentially. Training your legs. Just to cover that, machines can be beneficial. There's some decent ones, but I would not heavily put your leg training all on machines. I would focus more on the free weight exercise just because it's safer and your body is allowed to move the way it is designed to move at this point in time. So leg training can be split up. You could do total body, you could do total legs twice a week. You can also split up, let's say, for example, hamstrings and quads. You can kind of break it up a little bit. Of course, your entire leg is working on either workout. You're never really just working your hamstrings. You're never just working your glutes. Everything's tied in, everything's connected, but you can definitely break up and split up the workout to kind of stress certain areas more. This I would only recommend for someone who's more advanced and doing a lot of volume that might need extra volume specifically on hamstrings, that might need extra volume specifically on quads or glutes to break up these types of workouts. I don't recommend a newbie, beginner to training to start breaking up leg training. It doesn't make sense because your volume wouldn't be a lot to begin with. So you don't want to actually break up and do isolation. You don't need to doing leg training or leg workout, let's say Monday, Thursday, if you're doing a Monday through Sunday cycle, or a Tuesday, Sunday, or Tuesday, Saturday, doing something where you're breaking it up over the course of 2 or 3 days in between workouts can be beneficial. High reps to failure, low reps to failure. Legs need variety. But legs need hard, brutal training, and that's just the honest truth. A lot of people don't have leg development because they don't push hard enough because it hurts. It hurts. And the body has a stronger defense mechanism for the legs because if your legs are getting blasted and they're fatigued, the body knows, I might not be able to walk. This is dangerous. I'm losing my mobility. That's why the body generally has a stronger defense mechanism just on an evolutionary level for legs. It's going to protect its legs because that's the only way the body can move. So if you're damaging the legs and you're burning the legs and you're fatiguing the legs, the body kind of like on a deep, deep level is thinking, this is going to affect my ability to move around. I'm not going to be able to go hunt buffalo. I'm not going to be able to go climb a tree. So the pain is a little bit different perceived from the legs. Not to mention, if you're sore from legs or if you're fatigued, it's hard to walk. So it's just uncomfortable to deal with soreness. You get used to that. You got to suck it up. You get used to that. But legs need training to failure, and they also need a variety. I've seen some great results, and I love going high rep for legs because the legs have a different combination of muscle fiber types in general. There's two muscle fiber types, type 1, which are slow twitch, designed for endurance, and more found in stabilizer muscles, and then type 2 fibers, which are more fast twitch for muscle growth, power, and explosive capacity, which are more found in, larger muscle groups, superficial muscle groups like the pectoralis, like the latissimus, and the glutes, and so forth. But the lower body has a greater, in general, combination of type 1 and type 2, because when you're walking, you need endurance. So that those endurance fibers are usually found a lot more in the lower body, which is why a lot of people have trouble developing their calves, because calves have a lot of type 1 fiber. They're designed to contract over and over again and walk long distances. So when you do higher repetitions, you kind of dig more into those endurance fibers. And that's why high repetition training can be effective to develop leg muscles a lot. And it also burns. It hurts. It's uncomfortable. People get lightheaded when they train legs because you're sending a lot of blood to the lower body. So it's easier to get lightheaded and dizzy when you train legs. Let's just be honest. It's an uncomfortable muscle group to train for most people. It's my favorite. I love training legs, but this is an area where it's very sensitive. You have to be careful with injuries because of compensations, but it needs to be pushed hard. And a lot of people aren't willing to put the work into leg training to actually get those results. So if you're not getting results, you might not be eating properly for results, but even more likely, specifically with legs, you're probably not training properly. You're not training hard enough. You don't know what you're doing. You're not using the proper form. So leg training is more specific. And I think in terms of leg training, there's less room for error in terms of form. There's less room for error in terms of intensity. Upper body and other things, I think some people can kind of get away with not doing things exactly properly or not pushing really super hard and get some results. But lower body, you need to really blast because you're always working them. You're always walking. They're always getting stimulated. You're not walking on your upper body. So it's easier to stimulate musculature in your upper body than it is lower body, just because of the fact that you're always on your legs. They are used to stimulation. You have to go that much further and you have to really push them that much harder. So volume, high reps to failure, you could try differently. You could try different things. You could try different things with the high volume, with a high rep, with a low rep, but always go to failure. Try it out. I wouldn't recommend going any lower than 4, 5, or 6 repetitions for legs, only if you're advanced. If you're new to leg training, do not go that low. Keep it to like 10 to 15, maybe even 20 reps to failure and build from there. Start a nice base. Don't start going really heavy just because you see people squatting a lot on YouTube. Consistency, you got to train all the time. Got to train legs all the time, once or twice a week. Be regular. You can go through like hard training weeks and then weeks where you're kind of back off a little bit and you don't go to quite to failure, but you need to push on a regular basis. You need to always be exposing your legs to stress. You need to always be exposing these muscles, just like anything else, to stress. Otherwise, you're not going to see change. This is something that has to be done on a regular basis. Got a great question. Can you build your legs if you've inherited a skinny body type? Genetics plays a large role. Let's not deny it. Everyone looks different for a reason. So your body is going to develop differently. Person A, who might be generally skinny, be a ectomorph rather than someone who might be a mesomorph or an endomorph that inherited a different type of body type, someone who's more rotund or round or heavier, someone who, myself, I'm a mesomorph, I can kind of gain, I can lose, I can kind of go either way, and someone who's an ectomorph who just really has trouble putting on size. Everyone's different, so yeah, your genetic body type is going to affect big time. Some people say, oh, genetics are BS. Don't worry about genetics. You just got to work harder and train harder. I don't think it's BS because we all look different for a reason. Genetics play a major role in how we develop and what our capacities are. But you might not just be doing everything the proper way for you. So yeah, we're all different, but at the same time, you might not just be doing what's right for you, and you haven't found that yet. So don't blame genetics, because you could definitely develop your body the best that it can be, and you probably just haven't found exactly what works for you yet. Okay, so leg training, super important. Don't skip it. Don't skip it, Busker. Don't skip it, Periscope. Don't you skip it, YouTube. And certainly SoundCloud and iTunes should not be skipping leg day either. And the reason why this is kind of pending on my mind is I think today is going to be leg day for Papa Swolenormous. I think I'm going to get my legs back into the game a little bit today. Been taking a little bit of time off, wanted to rest my legs a little bit, my quads, but I think today shall be the day. Pretty excited about that. Love me some legs. So find out what works for you. Focus on free weight exercise. I will be posting some proper form exercises. Remember, on Monday will be another episode of the Daily Swole, which will incorporate some body weight movement. So I think the squat might be, we did the pull-up last week, and I think the squat is going to be something that I want to talk about and get some video and get some discussion on that I will add to the podcast, some video for that. So stay tuned for Monday. I'll just say it right now. Let's do the squat because I think it's really important for people to know how to do a squat. So we'll just talk about that on Monday. So that's coming up, and it's Saturday, so that's 2 days. So you just got to hold your roll, and you can smell what I'm cooking on Monday. Thank you for joining me this Saturday. Make sure you get your workout in, eat healthy. Message me on Snapchat. Message me if you have any questions. Let's get these questions out there so we could do some Q&A before and after, blah, 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 all these things. Get your questions delivered because a lot of people, I'm sure, have the same ones. I'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon. It's Game of Thrones Day. Remember, Game of Thrones Day. Tomorrow on Sunday. I'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time on The Daily Mother Swole. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 36 of The Daily Swole. See you tomorrow. Have a great day. Peace out.